Hello everyone! In Burning Crusade Phase 1 there's going to be a ton of expensive items. But of course all epic items will be really expensive, and that's why I've chosen not to include those in this video. The first category I will talk about is different weapons. The first 3 weapons that I'm about to show you is actually really good. Of course, if you did raid next Rammers, Blackwing Lair and AQ, then these weapons won't really be a good replacement. But still, if you boosted a character or you didn't raid in Classic, then you might actually find these fairly useful. And that's also why you might be able to sell these items for a good amount of gold in the beginning of Burning Crusade. I've seen a lot of warriors and enhancement shamans leveling with the Axe of Legion in the past. And this axe is actually really good because of the expertise that it provides. This feral tanking staff is really good, and even when you hit level 70, you will continue to see druids use this for quite a while. And that's why I recommend you not to sell it for 50 or 100 gold, you should charge a lot more. Hunters is going to be really popular in Burning Crusade, and you will see a lot of people re-rolling one of these, and that's why this gun is going to be worth quite a bit. Crystal Blade of the Draenei is a really good one-hand tanking weapon for warriors. It provides a lot of defense, and being defense capped or having a lot of defense is going to be really important in TBC. This staff provides a lot of bonus healing and spirit, which will be useful for priest and resto druid. You will see a ton of people use this item at level 70 when they're going to do dungeons and heroics. This axe is so insane in early Burning Crusade. People who's going to do PvP, so warriors, retro paladins and hunters. Oh yeah, well, every weapon is a hunter weapon, right? But people who will actually go for PvP will definitely like this weapon because of all the stamina, attack power and crit it provides. So this weapon will be really expensive. When you hit level 70 as a rogue, then you might like a really good weapon, and this dagger is definitely one of them. This will be so expensive because in PvP and even PvE it will be useful. This caster staff provides a lot of spell damage and crit. You will see a ton of mages, warlocks, priests and even some elemental shamans who will actually go for this. And the stats is really good in PvP and PvE, so there will be a huge demand for this, and that's also why it's going to be expensive. This weapon is so good for hunters. It's not pre-raid best, but it's definitely one of the better weapons. You will see people pay a ton of gold for this item, so make sure not to sell it cheap. There's also a level 70 one-hand healing mace, and this item will be so good for resto shamans and holy paladins. This particular item is something you will see a lot of healers use in tier 4 raids. Many people at level 65 or even before might actually realize they need a shield in order to tank dungeons, and this could result in the demand and the price to actually increase. There's also this caster shield for elemental shamans, and people who's going to play elemental at level 70 will definitely go for this item. The last shield that I will show you is for holy paladins and resto shamans. This will be expensive because there isn't really that many high level healing shields in TBC, and you will need to do heroics and raids in order to get a better shield. This level 61 caster cloak is good at level 61, but actually all the way up to 70. The reason for this is because it provides a lot of spell damage and hit rating, and you will need a lot of hit rating in order to be hit capped at level 70. It's the same with these gloves. They provide hit, spell damage, but also crit, and these 3 stats are so important as a caster. And because of this, this item will also be really expensive. This healing chest is really good for resto druids and priest. The last cloth item is also the most expensive one. This chest provides a lot of spell damage and hit, and you will definitely see a lot of casters in early Burning Crusade use this robe when they're going to raid. Next up is leather items, and these level 61 shoulders will be really useful for feral druids, and especially those who's planning to dungeon level as a feral tank. This headpiece is really useful for all melee classes, make sure not to sell this one cheap, because hit, crit and attack power will be useful for all melee classes and hunters. These boots are also really good. They give hit, attack power and agility, which will be useful for melee classes and hunters. And they also increase stealth level, which will be useful for some classes. The last lead item that I will talk about is this chest piece. And this chest is actually really good in early Burning Crusade PvP when you're going to grind your PvP gear. Next up is mail items. And this build is quite useful for elemental shamans and resto shamans. These legs will be useful for enhancement shamans and hunters. Agility, inner leg and attack power are all really good stats for those two classes. It's the same with the next two items, and it's really important to remember that in Burning Crusade, hunters will be popular, and that's also why some items will be really expensive. The reason for this is because hunter in Burning Crusade is way better compared to what they are in Classic. When it comes to plate items, then I don't find that many items actually useful. These two are good for retro paladins and warriors, but the gloves is actually decent at level 70 because they give strength, agility and hit, and these stats all increase your damage. The first three items are fairly decent. Actually what is going to be worth the most is the first neck with agility and attack power, because a lot of classes will find this useful, but the caster neck and the healing neck is not something you will see a lot of people use at level 70, and that's the reason why they won't be that expensive. Next up is this healing ring, and this is actually really good. Intellect, spirit and healing. 3 stats that is really good for resto druids and priest. There's also this ring for melee classes. Strength, agility and hit. 3 stats that increase our DPS. This ring and the next one is definitely going to be the most expensive of all the necks and rings that I've showed you. All rare and epic patterns, recipes, designs, everything for professions will actually be worth quite a bit. And that's also why you should not sell these items cheap. People need these items in order to level up professions and hit max level, because at max level you'll be able to craft epic items. This tailoring pattern is usually a bit expensive, because this cloak is really good at level 70, and this do mean that the pattern is going to be expensive, because the tailor can actually craft this item, skill up his tailoring and still make a profit. It's the same with this healing cloak. You can craft it, sell it and that way level up your tailoring for free. And that's why this pattern will also be expensive. These bracers and this tanking cloak will also be really expensive. I'll probably pay more than 500 gold for each pattern, because with these I can level up tailoring, make a profit, and I can even craft these items for other people and that will level up my tailoring. Next up is different modes. You can farm modes all over Outland, so if you're doing mining, you're farming, you're killing monsters, you have a chance to actually get these. And when you have 10 modes, then you can turn them into a primal. And primals and even some modes will actually be useful for professions and when you have to craft rare and epic items. So please make sure not to vendor any of these materials, because they will be really expensive. Next up is the different class books in Burning Crusade, and at level 70 we will actually have some new ones. These will make you able to buff the raid group really fast, and that's also why they will become really handy and expensive. But the two most expensive class books is actually Conjure Food and Conjure Water for mages. These will be really expensive because mages can't learn these without the books. And this do mean when you get the book, then you can actually make level 65 water and food when you're by yourself. When you're leveling, you will probably find fellow marmots, and these are going to be really expensive. The reason for this is because in Shattered City you can turn in fellow marmots and arcane tomes, and this will give you reputation with either squires or Eldor. And when you have a decent amount of reputation, then you can buy shoulder enchants, rare items, epic items, and also some items for professions. And once again, it was the fellow marmots and the arcane tomes that will be expensive. I hope you found this video helpful. I'm going to release more of these videos in Burning Crusade Phase 1 with items and materials that will be expensive in Phase 2. As always, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.